All right, I have 1 p.m. on my clock, so we'll get started with what you all came here for. Great info about Sage Intact, and I'll go ahead and turn it over to our longtime friend, Linda Pinion.
Thank you so much, Nikki. And I echo what Philip said earlier. Nikki has been a trooper all the way, and thank you so much for all that you've done to put this together. So welcome, everyone. Hello, and thank you for joining us for Enlighten 2024. We're delighted that you're here today. We have a lot of information to share with you. My name is Linda Pinion, and I'm a Principal Solution Consultant with Sage. And I'm joined, and my co-presenter is Dale Stratton from Dean Dorton. He is your Software Services Manager, and he'll be joining a little bit later in our session. Today, our session is about the year in review and what's next. The objectives for this, and this is a CPE credited session, so we want to make sure that when you walk away, you have some understanding of what's coming in Sage Intact and to become more familiar with emerging accounting technologies, and also to learn about some applications of new software features. And this is important because part of what we want to make sure of today is that we are helping you be successful with Sage Intact. In case you missed it, if you weren't on earlier, there's 2 ways to participate in the polls, and it is necessary for you to do that in order to get your CPE credit. So the first way is to use the text and text in 22333, enter that message of Dean Dorton all together, and then you'll text in your A or B response to each question. The other option is to go to www.pollev.com, type in Dean Dorton and select join. So I'd like to just share with you a little of the backstory of Enlighten. I've been involved with Enlighten for several years. And one thing that I know, everyone that delivers to you today has invested time in putting together material that, again, is going to help you extend and expand your knowledge of Sage Intact. And the great thing about that is everything that you learn today, you can take with you. And you can take it, you can utilize it, you can share it with your team members, and it's always going to be part of your learning cabinet, if you will. So make sure that you take away some nuggets today. All right, and let's get started with the year in review. So one of the things that we talked about is what part does Sage Intact play in making sure that you're successful? And we do that by continually updating our product. So if we look at what we're delivering, and next slide, what we're delivering, we're always focused on making sure that we're delivering value and insights to what you have in product. And again, this is based on growth, where you are going with your company and making sure that you are able to grow your company and Sage Intact grows along with you. We also want to make sure that you're able to manage risk. That's always a key identifier in selecting a software solution, is to make sure that you are minimizing that risk. And then, of course, every company, every growing company is certainly concerned with making sure that we're taking good advantage of our time and that we have that cost savings. In the last 6 releases, we've had over 350 enhancements. So 350 enhancements, that's a lot of product in 6 releases. Every quarter, we have a new release. When Dale and I started talking about this session, we opted to start by stepping back into 2023. And we did this intentionally because we know that our customers sometimes are very busy at the end of the year. So Release 4 comes out in November. It's right on the heels of a lot of holidays, and you're trying to get the W-2s out and close the year and do the 1099s. And we know that sometimes customers don't have an opportunity to really dig into that last release of the year. So we're going to step back. And I just want to point out a couple things that maybe you didn't catch, or maybe you haven't had time to go in and review. One of the big things that we did in R4 for 2023 was we released advanced ownership consolidations. And this is a separate application that allows you to do those ownership financials. So if you have folks that own a portion or a percentage of a company and you need to produce those financials, we didn't have a great solution for that before. Now, advanced ownership consolidations takes care of that. The other thing I will point out, and this was a big thing, a lot of people were really excited about this, was the single AR payment. So that cash receipt that comes in, one check, and it pays for multiple customers. And being able to split that out was always difficult to do. And now we've tackled that as well. In our industry area, we did some more work on inventory fulfillment. We had that in early adopter, and now we have it in general availability. And we've also released the ministry intelligence and project intelligence tools. And then, of course, being the end of the year, we did some things around 1099s. So let's move forward to release 1 of 2024. You'll notice there's a pattern here because we have these columns. We're always wanting to do things around industry. We're always wanting to do things around automation and what the latest and greatest is. So when we looked at release 1, and we just need to go back one slide, Nikki. There you go. One of the big things that we did in release 1 was we announced Sage Fixed Assets Management. That's a mouthful. And that fixed asset solution is native to Sage Intacct. And it, of course, does what you want fixed assets to do. It automates depreciation, and it connects to accounts payable. In a subsequent release, you'll see that we've introduced it connecting to purchasing as well. So that is coming. Another thing that I would point out is we've extended the ability to extend your Sage Intacct solution by adding in other products and tools to help you. One of those is Sage Intacct Data Flow. Another is Sage Intacct Forms and Operational Flows. And I know you're going to have a separate breakout on that. So just continuing to make sure that you have all the tools to continue that growth. In the automation area, we partnered with a company called Forecast, and that was to release Sage Intacct Professional Services Automation. And this is all driven by AI, and it gives you a different view and a more detailed view of how those projects are tracking and performing. We've also done some expansion in AP automation, and we added the PO line leveling matching in early adopter, utilizing AI to do that matching for us. Over in the industry area, for our construction companies, we introduced a separate tab for commitment compliance. And this allows them to house everything in one place. So if you have insurance and bonds and lien waivers, all of that information can be behind that new tab that's there in construction. So moving to release 2, again, making sure that we're addressing that thought about being easy to work with, knocking down those barriers to make sure that everyone is feeling good and feeling comfortable with product. So we always do things to make sure that our financials are up to speed and on point. And one of the things that we introduced here was PwC Control Insights. This is a separate tool that's all about doing a continuous health check of your business. It's going to give you different information than what you would see from, excuse me, key performance indicators, which we already have on our dashboards. This is going to start looking at trends and looking at the analysis of the data of how your company is performing. Along with that, we always want to make sure that, again, it's easy to use and intuitive for you. So we've done some things with Sage Intelligent Time. We're exploring and putting in information about expense allocations in the employee expense area. And then again, as I mentioned, the purchasing has now been added to Sage Fixed Asset Management. In industry insights, I always want to make sure that we are providing that full view of what an industry needs. And to do that, we partnered with Donor Perfect to introduce Sage Intact fundraising. So this is exciting. Donor Perfect is well known in the nonprofit world. So that's going to give us an added ability to have everything right in Sage Intact and have that connection. One thing that you might have missed, it was in early adopter in R2, is the supplies inventory. And supplies inventory allows you to have inventory that you consume rather than inventory that you sell. And it also introduces a new concept for us, which is the workbench. And the workbench allows you to look at the data and then perform different actions all from that one screen. So if you haven't read up on supplies inventory, it's coming out in general availability, but in R2, it was in early adopter. And then, of course, the new list, which I know Dale is going to share with you, and that's just another way to have access to information. Moving on to release 3. So this was the most recent release that we've had. And again, making sure that you know how you're performing and where you're performing. We announced usage insights, which provides some pre-built dashboards to let you know who's using the system and how they're using the system so that you can decide if you want to make some changes in your accounting processes. And then one that I know that everyone was happy about was the unapply AP credits. If you have applied an AP credit and then you decide after you've paid that vendor that you want to undo that, it wasn't real comfortable and easy to do. And so now we have a way for you to do that. I know that Dale is going to share that as well. In the automation area, we're continuing that automation story. We've already done several areas of automation in Sage Intact. Many of those are hidden to you. I'm going to remind you of them a little bit later. But AP automation, top of list here. AP automation is available in all regions, so everyone has access to that in general availability. And we've also added an automated workflow for expenses, and that is in early adopter. That's doing the same type of activity that you see in AP automation because we're leveraging AI to assist us in those coding activities and making sure that we're accurately coding things and making it simple and easy for us. And then we've also added some reports with ICRW, the Interactive Custom Report Writer. We've added some reports additionally to order entry and purchasing. In the industry area, again, the forms and operational flows. This is a tool that you can use for lots of different things. One of the examples that we have is if you're onboarding some new clients or new employees, and you want to create a list of activities, keep up with those activities, create that workflow. And then you also have the ability to create client portals, which is something that everyone got excited about because now you're offering that functionality to your customer and allowing them to do that self-service customer portal. We connected with Canso. Canso is a housing management solution. So we now have a connector and early adopter for Canso. And then one thing that I think is really exciting is the contract dimension. So for those of you who are using contract revenue management, you know that contract is a dimension that you use. However, now what we've done is we've activated that contract dimension. If you are subscribed to order entry and revenue recognition, you can now use that contract dimension without contract revenue management. That's going to give you another way to do that granular reporting. All right. So I think we have a poll here that we want to take. So, Nikki, are you engaged with us?
Yep, it is ready for you to either go to that website or send a text message to answer our poll question.
So how do you
And
communicate and share the release notes with your internal team? I think this is so important because everybody doesn't have an option to spend time reviewing the release notes. And this gives you an opportunity to decide what you're going to use in the release, how you're going to use it, really a chance to do some collaboration with your team. Interesting. I'm curious about the other, Nikki. I wonder what that is.
I also am curious about it. If you want to share with us in the chat how you're sharing the release notes, we'd definitely love to know more about that.
Yes. Hopefully they're not drilling a hole in their head and, poking those release notes in there.
Some sort of downloadable data transfer, maybe.
Exactly. We have a connector for that, right? Oh. So lots of lunch and learns. That's good.
All right. So the responses are slowing down, and I'll let you carry on, Linda.
Okay. Thank you so much. All right. So I mentioned several areas of automation that we are utilizing, but where are we in that AI journey? And most of the things that you see on this screen, you've probably already heard about. And for those of you who are already taking advantage of this automation, congratulations. I'm happy that you are. And if you're not taking advantage of it, perhaps after today, you'll want to do some chatting with your Dean Dorton representative and get on board with AI. The first one is GL Outlier, and this has been out, excuse me, for several years. It's free, but you do need to subscribe to it. And when you check that box, it takes about, I think it's 48 hours for the history to gather up. And then when you enter a journal entry and it has not been approved, it's going to look at the data and it's going to see if there's any anomalies in the data, anything that looks wonky, as I like to say. And if it finds those, it's going to create an exception and it's going to let you know what transactions are considered outliers. They don't match the pattern of data that we're used to seeing. They may be perfectly fine, but it gives you an opportunity to correct them before you do that approval and go ahead and post that transaction. So GL outlier detection. AP automation, I've already talked about. However, it's important to understand that it is going to reduce, and in many cases, it's almost eliminated manual entry of AP invoices. So now those invoices can come in through email or through scanning. We're soon to have PO automation. It's an early adopter today. If you start your process in purchasing, then you're going to be excited about having that full PO automation and AP automation connected. We've been on a journey with BankRec. You may be a little weary of BankRec because we've done so much with this application. We're continuing to build things out. We're continuing to give you that flexibility of what type of records you can import. We've created the bank transaction assistant. We're utilizing AI. We've created these matching rules. So this is all helping you to do that bank reconciliation faster, because as we know, that's part of the month-end close. Sage Intelligent Time is part of the project accounting solution. So if you're using project accounting and you have billable people, then take a look at Sage Intelligent Time. It's going to allow you to start that timesheet from someone's calendar and phone. I'll start to build it out and then you can finish it out. So it's going to give you that leg up on getting that timesheet. And it's also going to help you reduce revenue leakage. And then the last one is Sage Copilot. And if you were at Transform in February, you heard about Sage Copilot. And Copilot is something that is not in R4, but it will happen shortly thereafter. The first piece of Copilot will be the financial assistant for month-end close. So that's the first place you're going to see your assistant come into being. And we already have some customers today that are using Sage Copilot, just a handful. I guess you could say they're kind of using it in beta mode, but it is soon to be released. So Sage Copilot is coming, and you'll see more about that soon. And I'm sure that Aaron Harris will talk about it in your keynote tomorrow afternoon. So the question for the poll here is, what areas of AI are you using in Sage Intacct today? So all that I talked about there, maybe some others that you are using, or maybe you haven't taken advantage of any of them. I love these polls that are dynamic like this because it's interesting to watch how the numbers change. So it looks like we have a lot of folks that could adopt AP automation, big time saver, and it looks like we've got some folks that are engaged with bank rec. That's great. As I said, that's been a journey. We're not done yet. We're still in jello here. We're not in concrete. So we've still got good stuff coming. And when I finish up in a few minutes, I'm going to point you in the direction of an event that is around bank reconciliation that you might be interested in. All right. So it's my pleasure to turn it over to Dale Stratton. Dale, are you ready to dance and sing for us?
I'm ready to go. Thank you, Linda.
You're
I
welcome.
appreciate that. Linda, thank you so much for the high-level overview that you've given us of where we've been this past year. Thank you all for attending our Enlighten session today and for your time. My name is Dale Stratton. I'm Manager of Software Services here at Dean Dorton, and I've been here for a long time. So you all may have seen me either on a demo or an implementation project or a support ticket, or even in years past for these Enlighten presentations that we do, that I've been involved in the year-end review for a lot of years in review now. So I'm going to jump in. There were so many things that I wanted to show you, but I just don't have time to do them. I've got a long way to go, short time to get there. So I had to narrow down all of those things Linda talked about into what I could show you in just a very few minutes on the screen. And the way I went about picking was what things will affect the most users. There's a lot of phenomenal additions to products like construction management or contracts, things like that, that are going to hit a smaller portion of users. So what I'm trying to do today is what's going to hit most users. Now, the most important thing that I'm going to show you, and I'm going to piggyback on Linda's BP King slide here, the knowledge slide, is that knowing an answer is great. Knowing how to find an answer is even better. So I'm going to show you behind the curtain. This is how I find all of my information. And Linda, I might be the reason why they use another method. Maybe I've told them in the past so many years to go find their information this way. This is why they do it. Inside of Sage Intacct, on your home screen, and it's a little house button. If your Sage Intacct logs into a different deploy page, when you log in, click your home button, the little house here. It takes you to your home page. Right on this screen, you've got release notes. Click here to review your release notes. I'm going to show you what I do. You've got a calendar here to see when all the next releases are coming out for the year. You can jump back release to release. I'm going to zoom in to the most recent one, 2024 R3. There's a nice little highlight video that talks about high level what Sage Intacct has added in this release. We've got feature highlights. I usually prefer to do this. Scroll down till you see all changes. And then you can look essentially module by module. So company administration, what changed in here that I might use? Now, when you scroll down through these, accounts payable, if you get to, say, for instance, construction, I don't use the construction module, so we'll skip that one. So you can essentially just stick to the modules that you use and read through every single enhancement and decide that's something that I can use and I want to learn more about. And when you want to learn more, you click, it takes you to the page that walks you through that. The reason I click this one is this is something I'm working with on a client right now. If you have any issues with emails getting lost from Sage Intacct, maybe you need to register those domains and enter DNS keys. You might say, Dale, I don't know what those things are. It's all described in here. You work with your IT person to get that set up. And if you need help, ERP support at ddaftech.com. So Dean Dorton's here to help you as well. All right, now next, after the release notes, we also have an option. Dean Dorton, within a few days of the release, will do what's called a Cloud Bites. That is our video that we invite users to. So it will be a Cloud Bite session where Philip has typically done these and he walks through all the different release features. If you miss those, if you're not getting invited to those, make sure and let us know. We'll get you the invite. But if you miss them, you can always go back and view them on our YouTube page. Just go to YouTube, look up the Dean Dorton page, subscribe to it. And then when you look, just search for release, and you're going to find a lot of videos for release 3, 2024, release 2, 2024. They're usually between 35, 45 minutes, something like that. So a quick, good overview of what came out in the release, and then need more specifics, we're here to help you. All right, now for some specifics in the system. So one of my favorites and I'm going to go ahead and cancel my video here. The way you all can focus on the screen. So one of my favorites in 2023 R4 was the ability to update a bill that has been submitted for approval. So when I go to accounts payable bills, if I submit a bill for approval and that I realize that I messed that bill up, that I needed to edit something on that bill. Previously, I had to wait for the approver to deny that bill or edit it themselves. So they had to send it back to me with a denial, and then I could then change that bill. New feature here, we've got this recall link right here on the right, or I can view the bill and then just click recall. And what it's going to do is it's going to put that bill back in draft status so that I can edit it. I can go in, make my changes, fix whatever I needed to fix on the bill, and then resubmit it. So a very nice feature where I can make changes to my own submitted bills by recalling them. There will be an audit trail for that. All right, next thing to show you. Now this was a big one. Linda said, I think she mentioned that in all of her years at Intacct, she's had this question of how can I receive one payment from one customer that applies to multiple customers? So insurance, an insurance payment may be a good example of this, that you receive one payment that applies to multiple customers. Here's what we can do now in Sage Intacct. So let me show you the setup. I'm going to go to accounts receivable customers. Inside of accounts receivable customers, I've created a hierarchy. So what I'm saying here is that Reasonable Security is the parent customer to Universal Alarms and Bedrock Industrial. You create this just simply by going to the child customer, you go to the additional information, and you set the parent customer. Now when I look in here, we've got invoices for all three. Bedrock Universal, and Reasonable Security each have $500 invoices sitting there. However, I'm going to receive a payment from the parent customer of Reasonable Security. So I'm going to go receive a new payment. And I'm going to show you how this changes. I'm going to pick Reasonable Security. I got a check from them for $1,500. When I click Show Invoices, notice this choice right here, Apply Payment to one customer's invoices. I see just invoices from Reasonable Security. If I change this to Parent and Child customer invoices, when I click Show Invoices Now, I receive invoices from both Reasonable Security, Bedrock, and Universal. Now, the other option up there was to just do for multiple customers. That would show me invoices from every single customer. I think this is probably the best method is when you have a parent and child relationship. I can pick the 3 invoices that I had slated, choose those, and now I can post that invoice receipt. And now I've received one payment against all 3 invoices and satisfied those. Next thing to show you, now this is something that I did not think would actually happen in Sage Intacct. The ability to change GL account numbers and even GL account length. Since I've worked with Sage Intacct, it's been a fixed feature. You could not change those. So let me show you how to set that up. So step 1 is you have to have an administrator go into the configuration for the general ledger. There's a check mark box in here that says allow changes to account numbers, including length. Once that's checked, you then have to grant security. So someone has to go and grant security to be able to change that. The security feature is on the general ledger module, and at the very bottom of the page, there's a couple little options down here to change financial account numbers and statistical account numbers. So you can do both. Once you have that set up, you now have the ability to go to General Ledger, all General Ledger accounts, and in here, you need a new account number in between this 10997 and 10998. You did not allow yourself enough room. So what you can do is you can now edit this account number. I have another little link here, edit primary and sub account numbers, and I can change this number to 10990. When I hit save, you're now going to see in my GL list, I've got room to add additional account numbers between. The great thing about this is this is actually going to go through all history and change that account number. If this is a cash account connected to a checkbook, it's going to change the cash account on that checkbook as well. All of the modules inside of Intacct will all be fixed. Where you want to be really careful is what I just did. Notice this is an account for Bill.com clearing. If your general ledger accounts are tied in with a third-party marketplace partner, with a product that is syncing with Sage Intacct, you want to make sure that you're able to change that account number, or it can sync the changed account number, and that would be a case-by-case basis. So you want to be very careful with that. Now, I also mentioned that you can change account length. This would need to be an admin to do this. You really want to think through this carefully. But essentially, under the company setup, you can go edit your company setup in your accounting schedule, and you can change your length from 5 to 6. It doesn't make any sense to change it from 5 to 4 because you would then have to somehow figure out how to edit your numbers. You can increase. When you increase, it does not automatically add digits. You would have to then add digits anytime you edited an existing account or added a new account. I would be careful with that one. That's not something I would take lightly, and I would think through pretty heavily before I did that. All right, now for 2024 R1, contact lists for AP and AR. What we're talking about here is when we go to add a new AP bill, and I add a bill, let's just pick Boston Properties here, and I say, well, I want to make the pay to a different contact. By default, my contact list is every contact inside of Sage Intacct, and I have no idea which of these apply to Boston Properties. Now we have the option to go into configuration, and inside of configuration, I can scroll down to the contact area, and in my contact settings, I can say restrict to contacts related to the selected vendor. This is giving me a little warning, so it's going to do this on new transactions or edited transactions. I'm going to save, And now when I go add that AP bill and I pick Boston Properties, you're going to notice that my pay to and return to list are now narrowed down to just the contacts that apply to Boston Properties. That makes more logical sense to me. Right. The next step in 2024 R1, the ability to have financial report versions. Let's go over and let's take a look under Reports, Financial Reports. Now this works with any financial report. I'm just going to grab one. So let's take a look at the Custom Financial Report. And when we run this Custom Financial Report, it comes out and it's got this account number in one column and the account name in a separate column. And I think that just looks weird. So let's go get rid of that and fix it. So we're going to edit the Custom Cash Report. We're going to go to Columns. And I'm going to say, let's get rid of this account name column. And let's change this account number column to be account number and name. So let's save and done. And now let's go run this report again. And fabulous. It looks great. That's the way I wanted it. However, Bob calls me. Bob says, well, I was exporting that report and I was using that account number with a VLOOKUP and this other thing that I'm doing. And now it's broken. So now I have to go fix the report. Here's a great little feature. I can go to edit the report. On the right-hand side under more actions, I've got view version history. When I click, you're going to see all the different changes and saves that I've made to that report. It tells me that I'm currently on the 14th version and I can go back to the 13th. I can say, well, let's view what that was. I view the last version. I'm going to preview it. When I preview, okay, there's both my columns back. That should make Bob happy. And now I can say restore. And when I restore that version, it says 13 has been restored as the new current version. Now I can take a look under version history. And it says I'm on version 15, was restored from 13. It tells me when that happened. So that fixes the report for Bob. All right, let's move into 2024 R2. In 2024 R2, we're going to look at the Bank Transaction Assistant with AR reconciliation workflow. So what I'm going to show you how to do is how to use the bank transaction window to assign a customer to payments and actually receive a payment through a bank transaction. So I'm going to go to Cash Management, Bank Transactions. Now this is a sync with a bank. Obviously it's a dummy bank. But when I sync the bank, I notice I have transactions coming in with specific descriptions on them. So what I can do is I can have Sage Intacct create a rule to look at that description and automatically assign it to a particular customer. So I'm going to check mark this one. And I see this C115, C115. I'm going to say assign to customer. My account assignment mapping value is C115. The customer I'm going to assign that to, I want that just to be all secure. So anything that comes in with this description of C115 gets assigned to all secure. When I save that, it creates a rule, and that rule, look at C115 description, has assigned for this bank account all secure to every description with C115. What that now allows me to do, since it's assigned to a customer, I can check mark these payments, these payment receipts coming in through the bank rack, and I can say receive payments. Now I'm going to have this 4 payments at one time. I'm going to receive in bulk. You want to do this to all 4 records? Well, yes, I do. And what I can choose to do is to match an open amount, meaning the payment would have to match an invoice amount specifically. If I don't have that, these are partial payments. I can say the oldest invoice or the most recent invoice. I also got largest and smallest, or create an advance if there is no invoice. I'm going to say let's go to the oldest invoice first. And I can preview the payment application. Here's how it's going to apply. It's going to apply these payments to these invoices, or to, well, it's one specific large invoice. All I have to do is check post and it will post those receipts on these days against this invoice. So I can now receive multiple payments in bulk at the same time, and they are now matched on the bank rec as well. Next, in 2024 R3, let's take a look at unapplying those AP credits. Linda mentioned this one. It was a bit cumbersome before. So when you had an accounts payable credit, so you went to accounts payable, you went to all, and you went to bills or pay bills. And when you apply a credit in here, let me just show you a quick credit. So we've got this Lenovo bill. And for the Lenovo bill, I've got a $300 credit that I'm going to take. So I'm going to say apply credits. So I'm applying the credit and I'm going to clear the payment amount. I'm not actually paying anything to this bill. I'm just taking a credit that I've got. I'm going to choose pay now. And I have now applied that credit. Previously, you would have to go to accounts payable adjustments and reverse that credit in order to unapply it from that bill. However, now we have the option, we can go to posted payments, and inside of posted payments, we're going to have on that credit, we're going to have the unapply option. And I can simply unapply that credit from that invoice right here. I get to pick the date, which I'm going to pick that as also today's date, and submit that. So now I've unapplied the payment, the adjustment credit is still sitting out there to apply to the next invoice that I want to apply it to. I did not have to actually reverse that credit. Something else to show you in this window. Previously, to void a check or a payment against an invoice, you had to go to a register. You had to go to accounts payable or cash management. You had to go to registers and you had to go to check. You can still do that. However, right here in the posted payments window, you have the void option here as well, which seems a little more intuitive to go to a transaction window to void that transaction. The next piece is editing an AR discount. So what if I have a customer that has a 210 net 30 and I send them an invoice, and when I receive the payment for that invoice, we're going to take a look at that. We're going to get a payment invoice from Amazing Retail. They sent us a check, 1234. I know the bill was for $500 and they sent us $490 because they're taking advantage of the 210 net 30 and they think they are paying within the 10 days. So I've got a $500 invoice. I'm going to check mark. I'm going to add that. Now I have this invoice in here and it says my term discount $10. They paid me $490. I can check mark to take that discount. No outstanding amount. All is great because they paid within the 10 days. However, what if, notice my term discount here is $10. What if we didn't get that payment on time? What if we received it on a later date? Now the 10 days is gone. The discount is gone. And now there's an outstanding amount of $10 that I have to go make some sort of credit for and then apply it. But I've got the option to override the discount to apply. I can just come into discount apply. I say, yeah, they're a really good customer. Something got lost in the mail. I'm just going to give them the $10 discount anyway. And then now I can post that and still override and allow that discount to apply. Last but not least, Linda promised that I would show this part. This has been coming through several releases. It's a great feature. It's on a lot of windows now. We're continually adding windows here. If we go take a look under vendors, this is under vendors, customers, bills, invoices, a lot of areas in the system. I can turn on beta interface. And what it's going to do is it's going to change my list view to give me a lot of nice features. So I can change column widths. I can move columns around just by dragging them. I can sort and filter using a contains window or a specific filter. So contains, equals, all these different things. A lot of different sorts, a lot of different add column features in here. I can save my views. And I've also got this really neat split view. So I can choose split view and it's going to show me the vendor information from multiple vendors as I go down the list, just clicking, and I can see the information for each vendor at a glance and not have to go click the edit view information there. If I click done, just get back to my main list. If you're not ready for that yet, you can always turn the beta off and go back to your regular list. So like I said, not near enough time to show you everything. That's some of the highlights. Thank you all for your time today, and I'm going to turn back over to Linda to show us what's coming in Sage Intact.
Thank you so much, Dale. I learned so much just watching you, and you made it look really simple and easy, and I appreciate that. So welcome to the future. What's coming? So let's go ahead and review the list of what's coming on the roadmap. First of all, one of the things that's been asked for a lot is retainage. Retainage is part of our construction offering. However, we now have that coming up in projects and grants accounting. So you'll be able to use that retainage function. We've done some things around employee expense automation and inbound employee expenses. We've created a reconciliation report for customers and vendors. We'll have more information on the 1099 updates for this year. We've enhanced the customization on AR statements, so being able to do even more in your statement customization. Some updates to Sage Intelligent Time, rate cards and time clocks. Rate cards is coming in December, time clocks is coming in November. And then we've done some construction enhancements to the work in process reporting. There's lots more coming, and of course, we're going to continue on our AI journey. I'm not going to go through all these slides. However, I want you to know that the slides are going to be part of this deck. So afterwards, you'll be able to access that information. I've also included an appendix of slides. Some of the things that Dale has covered, we've got on a slide broken out. So just a quick reminder for you. But a couple things that along Dale's suggestion on how he looks for help. Of course, our help center. When you go to that help center, at the top, there are some tabs, and they haven't always been there. And I love them because when you open them up, they have all kinds of information, how to troubleshoot a report. How do I do something? You know, why doesn't something work? Go check your permissions, go do this, go do that. So it's a great way for you to get additional help. Of course, you've got help on the screen, and you've got, you know, all the help that we provide within product. Another great resource is community. If you're not a member of the community, please take time to register. In one of the slides, I've offered up the QR code so you can immediately get to be part of the community. That to me is my one-stop shop. If I want to post an idea, if I want to ask a question, if I want to see some dashboard examples, or, you know, maybe I want to go off to Sage University and see what's in the course catalog. All of that is on that community site. There's over 30,000 people that are part of the community. So use that, and it's a free resource to you. The other thing that I mentioned was the user enrichment workshops. This replaced our user groups. So if you want to sign up for a user enrichment workshop, it is by registration. I've offered you that in a subsequent slide as well. And then one that you may not know much about at all, and that's the member master class. This is nothing about product. This is about how to help you be a better business professional. So take advantage of those classes. They're free. All you need to do is sign up for them. So Nikki, if you just page through those other slides really quickly, you'll begin to see all the information that's out here about some of those points on resources. Don't forget that, you know, when you go to the community and you ask a question, someone is going to answer it. And if you know the answer, absolutely answer it. You know, leave a penny, take a penny. And then just a quick shout out for Transform. Transform is coming in June of this next year, and it will be in Atlanta at the Georgia World Congress Center. So save the date. Make sure that you save the date for that. And then I just want to do a quick shout out for the learning membership. I call this the buffet of education. So everyone in your company can take and eat as much from the buffet, the education buffet, as they choose to for one fee. So make sure you take advantage of that. And the customer learning lab. This is new. Customer office hours was replaced with the customer learning lab. If you've been to any of our courses and labs at Transform, this is a hands-on lab. This is not just a watch and learn. This is a do and learn. We have 3 of them coming in November. You do need to register, so make sure that you register for those. And anyone can attend, any Sage Intacct customer in North America, and it's free. All right, so we have a poll that we'd like to finish up with. What area of the product would you like to learn more about? Dynamic allocations, ICRW or Ivy, advanced ownership consolidations, Sage fixed assets management, or perhaps you want to look at some of the integrations, maybe even some of the new ones like Canso or Donor Perfect, or perhaps you want to look at that connector to Salesforce. Looks like Sage fixed assets is perking along there.
Well, I have great news for everybody attending that wants to learn more about Sage fixed assets, because tomorrow our first session is going to showcase that along with other new features in Sage Intacct.
Great. We couldn't have planned that better, Nikki.
All right, we are running just a couple minutes over, so I'm going to move ahead.
Okay, sounds great. All right, so on behalf of myself, Sage Intacct, and everyone at Dean Dorton, thank you so much for joining our session today. Are there any questions that we want to throw out here, or are we going to answer those after the fact, Nikki?
Questions right now are welcome. I see one in the chat about the slides. Are they going to be sent out? Yes, slides and the recordings of these sessions will be available. It'll probably take a week or 2 to get those edited, but you will receive an email to rewatch or download the materials. And it'll have all of those great appendix slides that Linda mentioned as well.
I'm going to go back and watch Dale again. You were fabulous.
Thank you, Linda.
You were moving and grooving. I was just watching and listening, and I will tell you that changing the GL code, oh my gosh, where was that 25 years ago?
Exactly.
When you were boxed in a corner and you couldn't slide anything in. Yeah.
Something I think I failed to mention was almost everything I showed today. One of the reasons I picked it is because I've had that question in very recent history or multiple times.
Yeah, that's your worst nightmare when someone says, oh, I need to reformat all of these numbers. You're like, no. That's great news.
All right. Well, I do not see any additional questions coming in the chat. So we will go ahead and take a short break